And 7:02. So my name is Sheila Hurst. I'm a member of Reading West Rotary and the District International Service Chair. Welcome to International Service Opportunities, Projects, and Building Relationships Around the World. You know, when you think about international service, you may have the idea that it's all about grants and projects. Well, that's certainly part of it, but actually, in Rotary, international service includes not only service projects, but also events and activities taking place between Rotarians and others in 2 or more countries. In fact, international service is the overarching priority in Rotary. It includes membership, fundraising, fellowship, projects, DEI, girls empowerment, all areas of focus, and ever so much more. So during this session, you're going to hear about some special opportunities projects and how you and your club can build relationships and be involved in international service around the world. So in this session, you're going to hear from 6 speakers. To provide for a smooth transition and to save time, I'm going to give you a brief introduction now. And then rather than me again coming back and introducing each speaker will introduce the person immediately following them. So our first 2 speakers represented the 2 Rotary clubs that received House of Friendship attendance grants for the Rotary International Convention in Houston in May 2022. Their written reports are on the District International Service website, DISC, District International Service Committee, .rotary5160.org. And during this session, they're going to give you some thoughts about their firsthand experiences. So that's going to be international service through the eyes of a new Rotarian, Carolyn Briody of Mount Shasta Rotary, and international service opportunities, ideas from the Houston Convention, Irena Asmundson from Davis Sunrise Rotary. The third speaker, we think that he's going to get on because Claire is helping with this, Creating Connections Around the World, Brian South, Moraga Rotary. He's the immediate past president, and he also was the co-leader of the District India COVID-19 Relief Fund project and many other projects also. They have a very active club, of course. Joy Alaidarous of Rossmoor Rotary will be talking about mentoring grants development. Joy has a lot of experience. She's a past president of her club. She's the Club International Service Chair and the Club Foundation Chair. She's a past assistant governor. She's a member of the District Grants Review Panel and also a member of the District International Service Committee. Our 5th speaker is Daniel Kodam. He's going to give you a live demonstration of the District International Project Showcase that he's created and designed. So Daniel is president for the 2nd time of Danville Sycamore Rotary. He's the district webmaster, and he's the very much appreciated webmaster for the District International Service website. And our culminating speaker, we're so excited always to hear Karl Diekman. He's going to be talking about the role of international service in your Rotary experience. Karl's a member of the Rotary Foundation cadre of technical advisors. He was our District 5160 governor in 2010-11. He's a director of the Health, Education, and Wellness Rotary Action Group, a member of the District International Service Committee, and also, did I say that Joy also is a member of the District International Service Committee? If I didn't, I wanted to make sure I did. And Karl is a member of Woodland Rotary. So let's start with, oh good, and Brian's here. Let's start with Carolyn.
Okay, I just joined Rotary last year, and I was given the opportunity to attend the International Convention in Houston this past June. And I was with 11,000 other Rotarians and from all over the world. And I learned a great deal about Rotary in general, but specifically about global projects that I'm really interested in. The best part of the convention for me was making personal connections with Rotarians that were working on special projects. They were all people who were passionate about what they were working on. and ways they were helping people around the world. Some of the people I met, I sat down with a couple from India who are setting up rural mobile vans for breast cancer screening and saving lives because of it. I talked in depth to a couple from Zambia whose goal is providing portable desks for disadvantaged school children and supplying malaria nets. In a hallway, I was sharing a phone charging plug-in with a gentleman from Uganda, and we spent an hour sharing ideas about Rotary projects. So a quote I found that really fit how I felt about that experience was, "That is how change happens. One gesture, one person, one moment at a time." Now, in this 10-minute time frame I have, there were so many worthy projects I learned about that I would love to focus on. But in this time frame, I'm going to specifically talk about some education projects that really spoke to me. I was an educator for 30 years, so it's all near and dear to my heart. The first one is a project that Archbishop Desmond Tutu began in 2015. His goal was to furnish 20 million portable desks for children in rural sub-Saharan Africa. These kids have no classroom desks in their classrooms, and without any hard surface to write on, they remain semi-literate and limit their futures because of it. So this project, it costs $20 per desk. That includes delivery, and it's something that all of us, any club, any group could get together and sponsor, whether it was 5 desks or 50 desks or 100 desks. The second project that really impacted how I felt was the Guatemala Literacy Project. 4 out of 5 indigenous Guatemalans live in poverty, and 1 in 3 cannot read or write. A typical Mayan laborer earns less than $4 a day. Experts estimate that only 2 out of 10 complete high school, and young people lack the skills to read a bank statement, to read a voting ballot, or to even read a label on a medicine bottle. So because of that, then they never achieve higher paying jobs, and the cycle of poverty continues. So with this Guatemala Literacy Project, well, there are 4 different aspects to it. Primary teachers are trained in effective reading instruction and are provided high quality children's books to share with their students. Textbooks are also provided at grade levels. Without textbooks, the kids would sit and just write down everything that the teacher wrote on the chalkboard. And that gets pretty boring, and they would lose interest in school and learning. Third aspect is the computer centers that provide young people access to state-of-the-art technology. In some communities, 100% of the students had no experience with technology or computers whatsoever. And 60% of entry-level jobs in Guatemala require some computer skills. So these centers are being set up through this Guatemalan Literacy Project. And because of that, the Mayan youth are learning technology, and they're able to improve their lot in life and standard of living. And then the fourth one is RISE Youth Development Program, which addresses economic opportunities to impoverished students. Part of the program where you can sponsor a student for $1 a day or $365 a year. And that helps kids stay in school. Some of them, this program allows them to go to boarding schools because some of them lack support from their families. Their parents are not educated. They don't understand why it's such a big deal. So this part of the program also gives them job training and job skills, and there are mentors that follow them after high school for 5 years to make sure that they keep the skills and make good use of the skills that they've been given in this school situation. Guatemala also offers experiences for all Rotarians. If they want to go volunteer, they can deliver textbooks, they can help set up computer centers. There's one happening this coming February, and they also have programs in the summer. Those were two programs that really spoke to me regarding the education. If you do want to check my link for the report I wrote up for the entire conference, you'll see that there were projects from all 7 areas of focus that were really exciting and would be worthy for any Rotarian to be a part of. So I think that's about my time, but please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
And next is Irena Asmundson. Irena, hi.
Hey, thanks so much for inviting me, Sheila. So I also talked to some of the people that Carolyn talked to about the projects that she mentioned, and those were all wonderful ones. Let me mention a couple of other ones that I also thought were really interesting. One is the Peace Fellows program that Rotary does. I learned about this at one of the district trainings. It must have been at the end of 2019 or early 2020. Because in early 2020, right before the pandemic happened, I happened to be traveling to Australia, and I went and met some of the Peace Fellows there. And it was just the most amazing experience. The Peace Fellows were exactly the kind of people that we want to support, who are going to change the world in the future, who are going to help make peace across the world. I'm still in touch with some of them. They're out there doing wonderful things, really making the world a better place. So if you get the chance to nominate someone for the Peace Fellows program, or if you get the chance to interact with one of the Peace Fellows, I really encourage you to take that time, because it will renew your faith in humanity. It's just a really great program. The other program that I wanted to mention is one that has deep roots in Davis, the Project Amigo School. So this is in a small town. It's very near to Colima in Mexico. In Mexico, as in Guatemala, school children are really only supported through school through 6th grade. And so if you're poor and your family can't afford to pay the fees, then basically you stop after 6th grade, which is really a shame. And it loses a lot of potential for these smart kids. So a couple of decades ago, someone came to Colima and they started this project, and they prepare kids to go all the way through high school. And some of them have gone on to college and are now donors themselves. It really transforms lives. It's not very much to support a school kid. If that's something that your club wants to start dipping its toe into, you can do as little as go to their website and start sending the money to support one of the school kids. Or they also organize trips down there to renew the school, to teach kids how to swim, to teach the kids how to do other things. And so you also have you also have the opportunity to go down and have a service project yourself for your club. I'll also mention, if you happen to be in Davis on October 2nd, that is when the International House of Davis is having their International Festival. UC Davis is an agricultural college, and we get lots and lots of people from all around the world. Our own club has used this opportunity to make partnerships with clubs in other parts of the world, because one of the ways to make sure that an international service project is successful is to have those local contacts. So if you did want to start a project somewhere, I encourage you to come and meet all the people who are in Davis for a couple of years, maybe see if you can find someone who could be a partner for you in some place that maybe someone in your club visits often. The Davis Sunrise Rotary Club is going to have a booth there. We're also going to be spreading the word about Rotary. So if we do find partners who say, oh, I was a Rotary exchange student or something like that, then we'll try and collect those names and match people up. Finally, the thing that I wanted to mention about being in Houston was that the wealth of knowledge and the wealth of support that you can have to do international projects is really amazing. I have been a public servant most of my working career, and I have to admit, this is not a popular thing to say, but I really like bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a really good way to sort of transmit information, to help support people, to make sure that you can meet your goals and not have to reinvent the wheel every time you do something. And so Rotary has done a great job of providing online trainings at sort of, talking about best practice. And so whether you're an experienced club who has done a lot of different international projects and is now looking to get into a different part of the world, or is, trying to get into a different kind of project somewhere, there is that support. Or if you're just dipping your toe in and you just need to find out the basics, then there is that kind of support. So Rotary does a great job at that. There's all the Rotary action groups that you can contact. Everyone is really passionate about what they do. Or you can just, take the general training. I will stop there. All right. Anything else?
And do you want to introduce the next speaker?
The next speaker is Brian South from the Moraga Rotary Club. Brian, are you here?
I am here. Thank you. Right. Well, thank you all for being here, and I really appreciate the ask to speak. For my talk, I'm just going to speak for a few minutes on creating connections around the world. I feel like I've actually been really lucky in Rotary to have connected with lots of different Rotarians and clubs from around the world. And I just wanted to give a couple of different examples of how that came about. Because obviously, if you're here, you're interested in doing something like that probably too. So the first example was Sheila mentioned the India project. That was our rapid response project during COVID to assist India. And I'm not going to talk about the details of that project other than just to describe how that connection came about. We had a member who was in India, and so that was the way I initially became aware. But what I decided to do is actually reach out to Sheila, to Sheila with the International Service Committee for the district. And she actually had another Rotarian that had connections to India and was having a similar idea. And we were able to connect and collaborate as a team, and also work with our district governor at the time, Mark. And through that collaboration, we established contacts at the district level in India, and we're able to have a successful project. And I guess my takeaway in terms of creating connections was that sometimes if you want to act on an idea, you can connect with your local network and use your local resources first, and it'll help leverage those connections around the world. So, and you'll see in my virtual background, that's an example of a flyer with some pictures that the Rotarians in India came up with that was actually really very cool. So just taking that first step was really important, and using the connections that we already have here in our district. The next thing I wanted to talk about is something called the Lumumba Children's Library in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. That's another example of where one of our own members had created a connection, was able to become aware of a need. And so the LCL is essentially will be the first library of its kind in that area. Most children have actually never even held a book in their hands. And so that's the project, to build this first of its kind library, to have a learning center in that area of the world. But the compelling anecdote for that, I think, was we decided to have a joint meeting. And that's another way that you can kind of create these connections once you've established some sort of contact. Having a joint meeting, it doesn't have to be formal. And this example kind of illustrates that. We set up this joint meeting. We were going to obviously use Zoom, and there was a volcanic eruption that occurred in their area right before our meeting was to take place. So I assumed that they would need to cancel. I mean, they literally had lava coming down towards where they live. So when we contacted Fidel with the Rotary Club of Goma Tumaini, said, Fidel, if you need to cancel, that's no problem. We can reschedule. And he said, no, we're not going to cancel. We're going to do it. We're fine. And it was just an unbelievable illustration of resilience. They literally, on some steps outside of a building, huddled around a cell phone, and we held a Rotary meeting. We held a joint meeting. They included some of their traditions. We included some of our traditions from Rotary and from our culture. And it was just ended up being an amazing experience. And it again just showed this resiliency, and I think that solidified our connection quite a bit through that experience. And the photo that you'll see behind me is actually the foundation. So this project's been going on for a little bit, but COVID obviously was a difficult thing to overcome. But now I'm happy to report that that's the foundation for the LCL that is being built. So we've broken ground and it's being built. And if you would like any more information on that project, Debbie Q's on this call as well, and she's our lead on that. And so feel free to reach out and we can connect you with more info. The last example I just wanted to tell you all about was a connection we have with the Rotary Club of Tarnant in Scotland. This was an interesting way this connection came about. Again, during COVID, 10 years ago, we had a connection through a Rotary exchange student that we hosted from their Rotary Club, but this was, probably a decade ago. And during COVID, as we all did, we needed speakers. And with Zoom, you could ask anyone from around the world. And so they did ask if I could speak to their club during one of their club meetings and talk about my career, which I happen to be in law enforcement. So they're interested in American law enforcement, but also hear an update about our club. So we did that, and it turned out really well. And we created this bond between our two clubs. It's not a formal sister club arrangement or anything like that, but we just kind of have this bond and this connection. And so when we went back, when we were coming out of COVID, we did establish hybrid meetings, and that allowed our friends from Scotland to actually come in. And for to this day, we will literally have folks from Scotland once in a while on the screen when we're having our Rotary meetings, Tuesdays at noon. So and the Scottish folks will be on the meeting. So it's really, really cool. And sort of the what I'll end with is that they did invite me to represent Moraga Rotary and deliver the immortal memory speech at a Burns supper. Without going into huge detail, Robert Burns was an 18th century poet. If you've ever sang Auld Lang Syne on New Year's Eve, then you'll know that everyone has a connection. And so I'm actually going to Scotland on Sunday to meet with them and deliver that speech. Now, I didn't know when I booked this that I would actually be arriving on Monday, which is the day of the Queen's funeral. So, and I have a layover at Heathrow while it's going on. So that's going to be an interesting experience. But how cool is that? And again, this is Rotary and international service opening up opportunities. What you'll see behind me is the Royal Musselburgh, and that is a castle where the speech takes place. So that's where the Burns Supper is going to take place, and where all that's going to happen in about a week's time. So that's essentially what I had. Just amazing what type of opportunities Rotary can can provide. And I just want to end by saying this: it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge project, a massive project that you're interested in. It could be a project, it could be a cultural or a social interaction, or it could even just be an exchange of ideas between email, between Zoom, between the WhatsApp texting app that I use with other Rotarians that live in other countries. Any club can create connections anywhere in the world. The key is just don't be afraid to make that first step. And that is all I had. And I'd love to introduce our next speaker, Joy Alaidarous from Rossmoor Rotary. Welcome, Joy. Good to see you.
Hi, it's nice to see you, Brian. Hello, everybody. I am delighted to be able to talk to you. And my topic is mentoring, but we're going to start with, have you ever wondered when you were walking around or in your town doing things, gee, it would be nice, my town would work better if we had access to this pretty stream, but we can't get near it. Gosh, it's a shame that all this food from the salad bar is being thrown away as the grocery store closes. Have you ever had those kinds of thoughts? Well, maybe there's something you could do about that. Maybe if you talk to other people, you might develop a grant to address those. Or on the other hand, and that's local, but that's still service. If you were abroad and you saw kids working on a dump or making bricks, and have you ever thought, perhaps those kids ought to be in school? Just whatever ideas enter your head of how the world could work better, that opens an opportunity to develop a grant. There are a lot of myths about grants. One is that they're impossible to do. Well, they're not. They are possible, and it's too much work. Well, there is some work, but you get monies for it, so it is worthwhile. And another myth that people have is, I just wouldn't know how to do it. Well, we have mentors available to help you. Our district awards 20 to 30 local grants and additional international grants. There's quite a lot of money involved, particularly if you're doing an international grant. The monies that your club raises and that you raise from other people in the area, other clubs, gets matched, you get more money from the district and you get more money from Rotary International, and it adds up very quickly. The grant that we did was started with $7,500 from our club, and we ended up with a $65,000 grant, which in Ethiopia goes a long, long way when a bus ride is 10 cents. So our mentoring group is scattered around the district. There's 6 of us right now. We all have experience writing grants. Some of us are a little more experienced in one area or another, but the basic function of grants we can help you with. And wherever you are, some people just have this brilliant idea and really don't know where to start, especially if they're fairly new. They might not even know their Rotary. What they might need help with is locating their Rotary number so they can log on to DACDB and get the form they need. They don't know where to find the form. Whatever it is they need, we can start at that point to help them. Other times we've been asked, a group club has developed a grant and they just would like an additional pair of eyes to go over it before it is submitted. We're available to do all of that. So we start where you are. Each of us have had different experiences with Rotary, and each of us can help and add something to what it is you want to do. Grants are one way to affect the change that makes the world a better place. We were talking about the interconnected world of Rotary. When I was pretty new when I did our grant, and I had not ever done a grant of any kind before. I really didn't know how. We were asked to provide assistance to a school that was being built in Ethiopia. And I said, you know, we would love to. I was president-elect of my club at that time. So we'd love to, but we have no idea how to go about this. You know, and I do know enough to know I need an international partner, but I don't know how to do that. And they were visiting Rotarians from San Diego, and they raised their hand and said, we know how we'll help you. That was on a Wednesday. By Friday, I was talking to a past district governor of the Ethiopian area. He was Ethiopian Kenya at that time was his area. He helped me, put me in touch with a club. I had 2 clubs to contact. By the next Wednesday, I had a tentative agreement to partner with a club. So this interconnected world of Rotary is just incredible. I was so encouraged at that point. I thought, I know I can do this. If this works this well, well, there were a few more hurdles along the way, but nevertheless, we got it done. So I would love to have the opportunity to help any of you work on your grants, and so would the rest of the people on our mentoring team. And I don't think I've taken 8 minutes, but I think that's really all I want to say. So the next person is going to be Daniel. He's right sitting under me on my screen. Daniel is from the Danville Sycamore Valley Rotary Club, and he is a wonderful person, and we will look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Joy. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Just a little bit of background about me. I do manage the district website, and then Sheila approached me a couple of years ago to help with International's website. And what I wanted to go through is talk about this international website. 1, introduce it for those who aren't familiar with it, but 2, talk about what is the reasoning behind even having it. And to me, there's really 3 main reasons to have your projects that you do internationally talked about and publicized. And the first word I said is publicize. Promote yourself. Promote what you do, what your club does. It helps you grow for prospective members, whether within your club or those around you. That's a key element of things. The second thing is providing mentorship. By providing the information, you're basically creating a roadmap for those who are seeking to do the future projects. I know when I joined Rotary, I was very interested in international projects. I've traveled quite a bit pre-Rotary, and to me, the concept of helping around the world was very intriguing. But it can be a scary thing. First project I ever got informed about, a friend of mine had moved to India. He said, hey, my Rotary Club is doing this. Would you guys have an interest? I had to go ask around, is it something we do? How do we do it, etc. But this site gives you those that ability to have mentorship, and related to that, resources. So I'm going to share my screen and show you kind of the site and walk through some aspects of it. So you can see this is the homepage of the International Service. It's very similar to the district site, except it has the DISC right before that. So disc.rotary5160.org. You can go to the site, has a little bit of information here, has forms if you want to have questions and contact. And then I'll come back to Showcase under fairs. It talks about project fairs, different ones, and what's it about and how you could potentially participate or attend. And then we have our annual foundation day, which we have the last 4 years. And it basically, the foundation day is where you find out information about how to get a district grant. And in this case, the international side of things, you can get information about that. And then we have links to different things that could be of interest to you. But the big part of this site that we worked on and created about a year and a half ago was this page, which is supposed to serve as publicity, mentorship, and resources. As you can see, this shows a map of projects throughout the world. It gives you the easy ability to say, hey, I want to do a project in China. You go click there and see, oh, there's the China project. and it's a wheelchair distribution, and you can bring up more information. And as you scroll through it, it gives you what it was about. It tells you a little bit about when it happened, what was involved, but also gives you a contact information. So if you're looking to do something in China, hey, let me contact Rich. Let me see how he can maybe help me. Or alternatively, you may not know what country, but maybe you have an interest in a particular in a particular type of project. So if you want to go do wheelchairs, you might say, hey, let me bring up the wheelchair project. The idea, let me refresh this so it comes up. Or if, like, let's say you wanted to go, and let's say you have an interest in eye health. You can click the eye one, you get information about it, you find out what's going on, and then you can talk, you have Frank's email here, and you can contact him to give you information. So whether it's by country or by topic, you have the ability to get information. Now, how does this information get on here? Well, it gets on here down here. This is where you can submit. If you're going to work on a project, I recommend submitting the information early on. You put the project name, where in the world you're thinking of doing it, what area of focus it's in, which other clubs are involved, what your role is. Is there any non-Rotary partners? And here you can put in process, complete, or plan. You can use this as a springboard to put it on here and potentially promote it to the other clubs so you can get partners to help you with this project. And then the major funder, description, and then you can add photos and put a description here. Is this going to be hands-on where you can travel for it? Or is this going to be just a donation thing? Then your information, and if you have a project website, great. If not, put your Rotary website. Here's where you can add stuff. Now, I always recommend go back and update these. So if in 6 months you've got funding and you're starting the process of doing whatever you're doing, come by here and update it. Update the name, information, change the status now to in process, and you can put in, is it ongoing? Is it going to be done in a year, a month, whatever? You can add more photos. The idea behind this is going to be being a running chronology of what we can do as a district and our clubs. And I strongly recommend just keeping it on track. We're going to be, as we get more projects on here, we'll be expanding the filter range. So people can select based on the topics or other stuff. Right now, we have a good number that's built up over the last 18 months, but as we grow, we're going to have more abilities to filter and identify things. But use this as a resource. Feel free to visit. I always say, don't be afraid to tackle a project, because there's been a roadmap already created for you. And hopefully this website can create that roadmap for you. So with that said, I believe who follows me is Karl Diekman. So I will turn it to him from the Woodland Rotary.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it. And that was kind of fun getting to see the showcase. I can't say getting somebody who knows what they're doing drive you through it is really great. But I'm here to talk to you about the role of international service in your Rotary experience. And for those of you that have heard me talk about Rotary, I have come to learn that Rotary is a series of experiences. And they are always good, and they are, if you take advantage of them, plentiful. But I'd like to start by telling you, when I joined Rotary in 1982, I had no expectation or understanding that international service was part of Rotary. I joined Rotary to advance my affiliation with my community and its leaders. Now, as you listen to this, I used it in a different part of my talk sometimes, but I relate all my adult life to a book I read by Gail Sheehy. It's called Passages. And in her book, she takes different decades of your life They're chapters of your life and you go through it. And so Rotary has been that experience for me. If you did the math, I've been in Rotary for 40 years. Now, at that time, when I joined Rotary, my district was active internationally. So I quickly learned that international service was one of Rotary's avenues of service. And I took advantage of it in 1984 by hosting a group study exchange team leader and his wife during their visit to my district. For those of you who don't know, GSE was a program to facilitate international exchanges among professionals in a particular field, such as medical or engineering. But that program ended in 2010. You're going to hear more about an affiliated program that is starting up that looks a lot like GSE in the coming months and years from Rotary. This was the first time that I truly realized that I was responsible for my Rotary experience, and I could make that experience whatever I wanted. Over time, I discovered that my Rotary experience evolved as I journeyed through the various chapters of my life. Since that first experience of hosting a GSE team leader, I've had numerous encounters with international service, just as tens of thousands of Rotarians do each day. To tell a complete story about my experience with international service, I'd like to share a guiding value that I learned through reading the 1949 edition, although I read the 8th printing, which was 1979, of Rotary's 7 Paths to Peace, which laid out the Rotary policy on international service at that time, which held until into the 1980s. In part, it reads that the advancement of international understanding, goodwill, and peace through word fellowship of businesses and professionals united in the ideals of service. The policy statement goes on to say that each Rotarian is expected to make his or her individual contribution to the achievement of the ideal inherent in the 4th avenue of service, international service. The policy also offered that Rotary clubs should not engage in a corporate effort to influence governments, world affairs, or international policies, but should devote their energies toward informing the individual Rotarian in these important matters so that they will develop an enlightened and constructive attitude of mind. Rotary's view of international service has grown and changed over time, but the early principles remain. Today, Rotary has a simpler statement regarding this avenue of service, which reads, international service exemplifies our global reach in promoting peace and understanding. We support this service avenue by sponsoring or volunteering on international projects, seeking partners abroad, and more. I've had the good fortune to participate in many hands-on activities, ranging from visits to clubs in foreign countries, hosting Rotarians, and Rotary guests such as a delegation from People's Republic of China to my then District 5170 in the early 1990s. Touring to investigate future projects such as a reservoir project for a school in Thailand that was being rebuilt after the Great Tsunami. My part was to explore the feasibility of the project. And by the way, I should tell you, we ended up building that project in Tamil Nadu, India, because they had a military coup in Thailand at that time, and the Army was supposed to be a partner, and so it got done later. Your projects can sometimes be a little flexible. Well, leading and participating in vocational training team projects, a couple of examples are the Kenya Smiles Project and our cervical cancer prevention project in Nicaragua. Even without the technical skills of a dentist or doctor, I was able to contribute by supporting logistics and planning, organizing and funding projects. Recently, I worked to help clubs organize and fund projects, offering my support through small and large contributions. Even small contributions, when collected from many, can make a project a financial success. One of the great fun things I get to do is when we pass the hat at the club to raise a little bit of money for a project, be it local or somewhere else. It just makes you feel good, and it does help a lot. Whatever it takes that is within our ability to help our fellow Rotarians achieve whatever it is they want to achieve is something I think Rotarians should consider. Imagine how easy it is to drive to the airport, jump on a plane, and visit people you only know through your Rotary connection. Now, I'd like to stop here for just a second and tell you about Rotary Connection. One of my coworkers, who happens to be a fellow Rotarian, decided he'd go on a trip one day. And that trip involved him riding his motorcycle basically from Korea to England. That was his adventure. And Rotarians helped him at each step along the way, all through Russia and Eastern Europe and into France and ultimately in England. And it was all because of his connection to Rotary, that every day he stopped and visited Rotarians along his way. And these are the things, that was a form of international service. So the personal value Rotarian receives from international service at any level is immeasurable, and it can truly enhance your Rotary experience as it has mine. And I really would like to emphasize that it's not only what I get to do in international projects, it's the people I get to work with as we work on those projects. Sheila, memory with Youth Exchange, Donna Boyd, I don't think she's here, but I think somebody's here from Mount Shasta Rotary and their water harvesting projects. All these projects you get to work on. And so sometimes the international service is here and sometimes it's there, but you should always participate in it because it's rewarding, enriching. And I know for me, it makes me feel better. Thank you all very much. And I'm going to turn it over to Sheila now so she can, well, take us to the end.
Thank you. We're really glad that you all joined us for this session. We hope that you learned some new ideas about international service opportunities, projects, and ideas for building relationships around the world. Please join me in thanking our speakers, Carol Briody from Mount Shasta Rotary, Irena Asmundson, Davis Sunrise Rotary, Ryan South, Moraga Rotary, Joy Alaidarous, Rossmoor Rotary, Daniel Kodam, Danville Sycamore Valley Rotary, and Karl Diekman from Woodland Rotary. I think that I have everybody captured, your names, and I will be sending some information to you, including some things that some other people have. Oh, hi, Patricia, now I get to see you. So we invite you to explore the International Service website that Daniel has put together. And I want to give credit to Candy Pierce. It was her idea to have a clickable map, which was absolutely brilliant. And it was Daniel who made it happen. So, and then it was Laura Young's actually idea to have something simple and easily searched and way to submit projects. So you don't have to go through some labyrinthine series of different sites and getting a lot of information, but the basics. So we have that. Somebody else mentioned, it was you, Karl. I often follow your lead, mentioned Donna Boyd. And as our friend Donna Boyd from Mount Shasta Rotary says, in Rotary, International is our last name. So that's the end of our program. If you'd like to stay on and ask questions or talk with people, then you can unmute yourselves and have a chance to visit. Or other than that, then we thank you very much. And you can look forward to communication from me. And Mike, thank you, Mike Roberts. Thanks so much. Oh, what a nice comment you made. And thank you for talking about the Share Annual Fund. Claire, I don't know if you captured what he said, but it was very, very nice. Okay. Comments?